The Secret of the Abandoned Station 10. The Secret of the Abandoned Station, Episode 10, The Final Confrontation. James felt the pull of the gateway as he stepped through, the blue light enveloping him completely. The sensation of weightlessness returned, and he felt as though he were floating through an endless void. The whispers of the station echoed in his ears, growing louder and more insistent. He gripped the key tightly, knowing that this was the final step in his journey. When the light faded, James found himself standing in a vast, open space. The ground beneath him was smooth and reflective, like a mirror, and the sky above was a swirling mass of blue and black. The air was thick with tension, and he could feel the presence of something powerful watching him. As he looked around, he saw shadows moving at the edges of his vision. They were not the ghostly figures he had seen before, but darker, more menacing shapes. They seemed to pulse with energy, their forms shifting and merging as they moved closer. James felt a chill run down his spine. These were the shadows he had been warned about, the final test he had to face. The key in his hand pulsed with a bright blue light, and he felt its energy coursing through him. The shadows hesitated, as if wary of the key's power. James took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. He knew that he had to confront these shadows to uncover the truth and break the cycle. "Show yourselves," he called out, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. The shadows stopped, and for a moment the air was still. Then, with a surge of energy, they began to take shape. Figures emerged from the darkness, their eyes glowing with a bright blue light. They were familiar faces, people James had seen in the station's carvings and portraits. They were the builders of Grey Hollow, the ones who had sought to control time. "You have come far," one of the figures said, its voice echoing through the space. "But the final truth lies within you. To break the cycle, you must confront your own shadows." James felt a surge of determination. He had faced many challenges to get here, and he knew that this was the ultimate test. The shadows around him began to shift, their forms becoming more distinct. They were reflections of his own fears and regrets, the darkness within him that he had tried to ignore. One shadow stepped forward, its eyes glowing with an intense blue light. It was a younger version of himself, filled with doubt and uncertainty. "You think you can uncover the truth?" it sneered. "You're just as lost as the rest of us." James clenched his fists, the key's energy pulsing through him. "I've come this far. I won't turn back now." The shadow laughed, its form shifting and twisting. "You're afraid. Afraid of what you'll find. Afraid of the truth." James took a step forward, his resolve unwavering. "I'm not afraid. I will face whatever lies ahead." The shadow's eyes narrowed, and it lunged at him, its form dissolving into a mass of darkness. James felt a surge of fear, but he held his ground, the key's light protecting him. The shadow recoiled, its form dissipating into the air. Another shadow emerged, this one a reflection of his regrets. It was a figure of a woman, her eyes filled with sorrow. "You couldn't save us," she whispered. "You failed." James felt a pang of guilt, but he knew that he couldn't let it consume him. "I did everything I could," he said, his voice steady. "I won't let my past define me." The shadow's form wavered, and it dissolved into the air. The other shadows began to close in, their whispers growing louder. James felt their presence pressing down on him, but he knew that he had to stay strong. With a surge of energy, he raised the key, its light shining brightly. The shadows recoiled, their forms dissolving into the air. The ground beneath him trembled, and the sky above began to swirl with energy. James felt the station's power surging through him, and he knew that he was close to uncovering the final truth. The shadows retreated, and the air grew still. James stood alone in the vast space, the key's light illuminating the ground around him. He felt a sense of calm, knowing that he had faced his own darkness and emerged stronger. As he looked around, he saw a figure emerging from the swirling energy. It was the same ghostly figure that had guided him before, its eyes glowing with a bright blue light. The figure approached, its presence filling the space with a sense of power and calm. "You have done well," the figure said, its voice echoing through the space. "You have faced your own shadows and broken the cycle." James felt a surge of relief. "What happens now?" The figure's eyes glowed brighter. "The truth you seek is within you. The key has guided you, but it is your own strength that has brought you here. The station's power is yours to command." James felt the key's energy coursing through him, and he knew that the figure was right. He had uncovered the truth, and he had the power to shape the future. The station's secrets were his to reveal, and he knew that he had the strength to face whatever lay ahead. With a sense of resolve, he turned to face the swirling energy. The key's light illuminated the path ahead, and he knew that he was ready to step into the unknown. The journey had been long and difficult, but he had emerged stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As he stepped forward, the energy enveloped him, and the world around him faded into a sea of blue light. The whispers of the station grew louder, but they were no longer filled with fear and doubt. They were a chorus of voices guiding him toward the future. James felt a sense of peace, knowing that he had uncovered the truth and broken the cycle. The station's power was his to command, and he knew that he had the strength to shape the future. The journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The final confrontation was over, but the adventure had just begun. 10.